Kevin Schneider with Squid Ink Manufacturing. I'm the technical director for the fluids department here. And today we are in our print sample lab, and we're going to talk about pigmented inks primarily in co-pilot printers. Pigmented inks are a little different animal than your typical inkjet inks, which are dye-based. Pigments are solid particles, and those solid particles are suspended in the solvents or medium that we're printing. A good example where you would want to use pigmented inks are on dark substrates, such as white. They tend to be a little more opaque and work better for dark substrates. One of the challenges we encounter with pigmented inks is settling. Since pigments are particles that are suspended in the solvents or the medium we're printing, they tend to settle. Some pigments settle more than others. White, for example, is the heaviest, densest particle in the pigment selections, and obviously it settles quicker. Here's an example of a white pigmented ink that has been sitting for a few months, I'm guessing. And you can see that it's separated out and settled. To counter the settling effects that we see here, we have to keep the ink agitated. You can massage the bag a little bit, but we highly recommend purchasing an automatic ink agitation system, which is right here. Our automatic ink agitation system helps keep pigmented inks agitated and mixed properly and evenly. And how it operates is there is a metal bar inside of the bag and an actuator inside of the equipment here, which moves that metal bar back and forth. That motion inside the bag helps keep a consistent, thoroughly mixed and agitated ink ready to print. The actuator runs off of air pressure, for which we have a regulator attached to the agitation system. It has an on-off valve, and you can adjust the pressure on the regulator, which we generally set at roughly 50 psi. You'll notice the bag rocking back and forth. That's a sign that the rod is moving back and forth and the system is working properly. Before placing the bag into the pan, you want to check the bottom of this pan, make sure that there's no debris, no metal filings, screws, or anything inside of that pan, because it's a source to puncture the bag. We want to be careful of that. How you install the bag is by depressing the thumb lock on the female CPC fitting, and you push the bag into that fitting and allow it to lock. From there, you want to center your bag a little bit, make sure it's centered. Once the ink bag and the ink line is connected, the system is ready to go. We want to prime the bag. We want to prime the printer from the bag. To do this, you want to apply pressure to the top of the bag. That's what this plate is. It's a pressure plate. To distribute that pressure more evenly across the bag, you might want to hold underneath the whole pan system, depending on how much leverage you want or need, and you push it down, creating some pressure. And watch your head until you get some white ink, or whatever color you're printing at that time, come through the print head, which I see we've got right now. At that point, you stop applying the pressure, and you gently wipe the bottom of your face, the bottom of that print head face, with a lint-free wipe supplied with your system. One thing you do not want to do is remove the pressure plate and start squeezing this as if it was a wash rag in such a manner. This action can feasibly apply too much pressure to the faceplate and delaminate the faceplate on the engine, but you also are creating too much movement and stress points on your fittings and seals on the bag. You also do not ever want to roll your bag like this, because you will poke the rod through the bag. Now, I take a lint-free wipe. I fold it over 4 times, so I've got this looking like this. And remove your container, and I run a diagonal motion across the face. What you don't want to do is physically touch the orifice strip inside of the cavity where the print engine is. You don't want to take a corner of this and rub and wipe in there because it is easily scratched and renders the print engine inoperable once done enough. Now, if the printer has been down for 24 hours, overnight, or over a weekend, that is perfectly fine. The ink will scab over on that faceplate and protect everything behind it. What's important is how you start up the system the next day or after the long weekend. And it's important to soften the ink scab that is on that face before applying any pressure to the bag or purging or anything along that means. It reduces the amount of stress is applied to the actual faceplate. And how to do that is by taking the internal flush cleaner and spraying a little bit on that nozzle plate prior to startup. You just want to wet it and let it sit there and moisten and dissolve that scab that was formed. I would let that sit for 2 to 5 minutes, and then you can purge the bag like previously shown. One thing to pay attention might be the ink lines, which is another place where ink can settle. To alleviate that, you would have to either flush the system out or just push more ink through the ink bag. If your system's been running for years, it may be to the point where you're going to want to replace the ink lines. They're relatively inexpensive and very easy to do. It's just a good preventative maintenance thing to do. This concludes our video of pigmented ink systems. I hope that you found it helpful. And if you want to find more videos like this, you can visit our website at www.squidink.com or our YouTube channel.